So the question is, what is the meaning of life? I don't know, Manolis. I'm the wrong person to ask. But since you asked, my first and immediate reaction is
42.
The geek in me really wants Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy wildcard to be the correct answer. But I'm guessing that's not the answer you're looking for. The right people to ask may have been the ancient Greeks, and I think of all people, Manolis, you are in the right place to read their work in original. I don't know. But from what I understand, Aristotle, for instance, believed that the meaning of life is to be happy. Now, I've not spoken to Aristotle, obviously, but from what I understand, in order to be happy, you only have two options. Either you have to keep getting better and better and better at some progressively harder tasks, or you have to learn to live happy almost in spite of whatever happens in life, because life can be hard sometimes. And if you want to be happy consistently, you have to somehow ignore that. And that sounds to me very much like something that Buddhists would tell you. In fact, reaching nirvana, again, as far as I'm concerned, suggests that you need to leave off your desires and your um, wants outside and learn to live without that so that you are not subject to human suffering. In fact, a lot of religious texts will tell you that there is a guidelines to how to live your life with the most meaning. So the book will be the guidelines, and then the meaning would be that you reach some sort of a higher level, next level threshold. So be heaven or nirvana or rebirth. Now, you could also substitute the religion by the political party ideology such that you get, let's say, the Soviet Union. But in the end, it's all the same thing. Somebody else decides what you need to do in order to get to the actual meaning of life. Now, for those of us who have a very different perspective of how the meaning of life goes, we actually have to make our own decisions about what the meaning of life is. So one guy that I really listen to when I think about this is Viktor Frankl. He is the founding father or the pioneer of logotherapy, which is basically saying that striving to find the meaning of life is the biggest motivational force that human beings have. And he says the only way that you could potentially get out of a rut is by imagining a very positive thing, a positive goal, and immersing yourself in achieving that goal. And that should potentially get you out of the rut. Now, granted, Viktor Frankl's example of the rut was the concentration camp, so this may not be your everyday scenario, but it also somehow highlights the fact that if a person is stuck, not seeing what the next step is, not seeing a way of getting to the next step, and those are two different things, by the way, not seeing the next step and not seeing a way of getting to the next step, then he could potentially be very depressed. I could see how that could happen. And one way to overcome this is actually to imagine something closer and try to aim for that. So the idea is for us, or at least for me, from all of this stuff that I've thought about, is that the meaning of life is establishing some sort of a goal, and it doesn't have to be a very specific goal. In fact, it needs to be a pretty vague goal that is tangible somehow, that is, you can measure your progress going toward it, but you could never reach it. Because if you reach it, the next day after that goal is no more meaning of life, right? So if you go back to sociology studies, people actually tell you the meaning of life is family, or the meaning of life is raising children the right way, or the meaning of life is to be healthy, to be morally content, that is to believe that what you're doing is correct, or to have a really large group of friends, right? And the idea is that these things are not vague. So you know that having a family requires having a spouse or partner or children, and you know exactly what to do for that. But to be happy in that setting, to make sure that these people are also happy in that setting, is a very vague scenario. So It's very close and at the same time very far away. So if you're very happy with your spouse today, in order to be happy with your spouse tomorrow, you have to have a plan of action for maintaining the level of happiness. And this is a very interesting concept in that the meaning of life is both the goal, the destination, and the way towards that destination. Now, I don't know whether that answers your question, but it's something totally worth thinking